Hi guys, and welcome to Fireside Chat. I'm Danielle Johnston, your host for today's episode. I am excited to give you guys a behind the scenes, real opinion and review of the All-Star World Championship today. However, not only am I going to do that, but I am also going to go into what happens at my gym after our final event of the season. And if you're like me, where your gym may have some teams that ended a couple of weeks ago, some teams that just ended, heck, maybe you still have a team that has a competition after your end of season event, which I suppose is counterintuitive, but it could happen.
Anything can happen.
And I'll talk a little bit about how we end the season in my gym on a high note while we're already preparing and beginning the next season. So stay with me today as we go through all the important things that you need to do to make sure that you are ending this season strong and starting the next. If you have never listened to an episode of Fireside Chat before, again, my name is Danielle Johnston, and I am one of the gym owners at Twister Sports in Warrensburg, Missouri. We have competitive tumbling, cheerleading, dance. I think we're actually going to have 3 dance teams this next year. We have recreational, cheer, tumbling, dance, gymnastics, Ninja Warrior. We have indoor batting cages. We have a licensed childcare program. So we do all the things because we're in a super small town. So when I talk about my program, please know I have been the person that had 17 All-Star kids before. And I've also been the person that I think we're kind of getting close to 150. Now, I do not compete varsity events. So when we're talking about, by USASF standards, the D1, D2 split, guys, I'm a true D2 gym. I've got about 80, just under 80 actually, elite kids. And I'm not saying that to buffer numbers, because it doesn't matter, because where I compete, you can have 180 or 280 and I'm still competing against you. So anyway, know that if you are new and just starting out, you have so much that you could take from today's episode. Also, though, if you have been doing this for 20 years, remember that there are so many new things that you should be taking each season to continue bettering your program. If you do the same thing every year, people aren't going to see that excitement and that growth that they need to be able to see in order to stick with you over the years.
You've got to do better, Senator.
Okay, so let's get into it. If you've ever met me, I am a little bit of an opinionated person, and I have a really hard time showing on my face if I am not super thrilled with something. It's a work in progress. It's like lifelong skills I'm trying to learn here. However, I'm going to start at check-in and the coaches check-in and arrival experience at the All-Star World Championship. So 10 out of 10, easiest process, actually faster than most competitions we attend. So I was with you the past couple of years where there were some challenges. I think 2 years ago, it was super crowded, but we made our way through in an hour or so. The last year, there was kind of a really long wait for 3 or 4 hours. I was really lucky that my coaches stood in line and just sort of called us when they were about 30 minutes from the front. This year, guys, they have engineered it to where it was super simple. It was a smooth process, and I was really excited about that because I didn't actually have a lot of time. And I was just crossing my fingers that we would be able to get in and out of there. And if you have, if you're a gym owner or a coach and you have children of your own that travel with you, you probably also know there is nothing worse than having your kids be just bored and they start being disruptive and causing problems for you and themselves anyway, when they're bored and just hanging out, waiting for something like that at check-in. So it was really great. There were no surprises and everything went very smoothly. So we had a lot of teams with crossovers. We took 7 teams, and being that we have dance program as well, the majority of our dancers, I would say about 75%, do crossover to cheer. So we did have some crossover conflicts. Nothing was too crazy. I had prepared my athletes and the parents to be ready to do a quick change, that they would probably miss a mat or two in the back for their Youth 2 team because it was very close to the mini variety dance division. And we did find out a couple days before that it was going to be a little bit smoother. We certainly didn't have a lot of time to do those costume changes and stuff like that, but it went fine. I do need to kind of put this out there because in the moment I was listening to some upset gym owners who were talking about the safety issues of not being able to have crossovers. Take a breath, get a drink, be on all the mats. And while I can totally empathize with the inconvenience of all of that, I do just want to remind you, you have some opportunities to prepare your crossovers, both mentally and physically, for this all season long. So make sure you're taking those opportunities, because I was expecting us to have greater issues with crossovers. So we had been physically training those crossovers to be able to do one routine and immediately run and go do another one. And maybe that's a conversation for a future podcast, but we do Super Saturday practices where you might be running 2 full outs right in a row. And if you're thinking like, oh my gosh, that's so unsafe, it's conditioning for us. And so we felt like we would have been prepared if that would have been the situation. And I encourage anybody who has crossovers to make sure they're doing the same. Okay, coach's room. Guys, they had food, and it was like real food almost every time I went down there. So I was super grateful for that. I was grateful for the water. I was grateful for the drinks. Rebel had a great little section set up with like couches. Next Gen was down there. We had a couple of other vendors. I got a free pair of socks, which sounds funny, but I actually really like them. They're the Apollo socks, and I wore them to work out, and I really like them. They don't pay me to say that, by the way, but if they would like to sponsor, I can give you the email address. Anyway, I thought the coach's room was great. There was always somewhere to sit at any given time, so I thought that was good. When it comes to scoring, we're kind of used to scoring being a little bit tricky. Like you can't say, how were your scores in the Youth 1 division, right? Because they might be on a different panel. They might be at the beginning of the day, the end of the day. You honestly can't even say, how is the scoring at All-Star Worlds? Because realistically, if you're in arena, I don't even remember what they were. What are they? Not letters this year. They're numbers. If you were in arena 2 and I was in arena 4, they might be completely different. And so I did see some of those questions being asked, like, how are the scores? Were they super low? Like, I do expect judges to be incredibly particular at this point in the season. Can you imagine getting up there and, you know, they're announcing bronze and they're announcing silver and then you tie for gold? Like, that's crazy to me. And it can't happen at big events like this. Like, there has to be a clear definition. Now, does that help my teams when we, for the second year in a row, one of my teams did not advance by 0.1? Yes. Yes, it does. That was hard, hurt my heart again. But I like that it was so specific, because when you have that many teams and divisions, I think you have to be so particular on everything. So if you guys saw your scores, like I coach a mini 1 team. We saw our scores from November to March. I put them on a chart because I'm a nerd. They go up and up and up, and it goes down for All-Star World Championship. I believe it kind of has to, because otherwise, you know, you're going to score us kind of gently, whereas how will you then score a really amazing team, right? 100 is the max, and I don't think anybody really gets there. My gosh, if anybody gets there with mini level 1, I'm so impressed. I thought that it was fair. I thought that there was good feedback on all of our score sheets. You know, none of my teams advanced for cheer. None of my teams advanced, and that was really sad this year. I had some that, like, okay, I kind of knew they wouldn't. Like, I had a mini team. Hey, shout out to Crown Athletics. Nikki Therese, you're awesome. I was up there and they were in one section of the hall, and I had my mini team warming up in another section, and he saw me. I had one of them with tears, and I just gave her a big hug, and I was like talking her down. She was super overwhelmed because she's a mini, and she did compete last year at the All-Star World Championship, but she competed in dance, which if you have a dance program as well, you know it is way less stressful. Usually nobody's getting dropped. There's no deductions. There's not a lot of tumbling to fall. And this girl has a back walkover that has lately been kind of a struggle for her. She had tears in her eyes before we even went to warm-ups. And so I was trying to just keep her calm. And he came over and said, oh, are my kids being too loud? Are they overwhelming right now? Because he had like junior, senior age kids. And it was actually, I felt like, man, that's what this industry should be. We should be like looking out for one another and taking care of one another. And it actually had nothing to do with his kids, which is super great. But This is why the industry is so cool if you can get to know others within it. I ended up walking over to him just a couple minutes before we went to warm-ups. I said, hey, I've got a couple in tears. Is there any way you guys would just cheer them on as we walk, out the hallway to head to warm-ups? And not only did they do that, but they made a tunnel for my kids. It was the sweetest thing ever. My kids were like, oh my gosh, they are so nice. That was so cool. Anyway, if you're listening, thank you. And if you are not that one person I just talked to on this podcast, think about how you can do that for other gyms, because those kids are going to remember that experience. And it turns a very overwhelming moment into a very exciting moment. Okay, the vendor hall. My gosh, I don't think I've ever seen a $3,000 duck before, but my kids talked about it. They will remember it. I thought they did a really good job this year making it look cool. It was almost like its own, my little town or whatever. Dunkin' Donuts was pretty neat. But if you could please, anybody at the Open, if you're listening to this, please get them to serve coffee.
Okay, I need coffee and food in that order.
That would be wonderful, because that was the one downside. I love Dunkin' coffee. So thought that was great. ASWC, guys, 50% of people, actually, I don't know the statistic. I kind of made that up. But 50% of people are going to say they had a good experience at ASWC and 50% are not. I feel like I know my stuff pretty well when it comes to the score sheet. I educate myself. I study the glossary. Again, that comes with kind of being a nerd. It's like homework, and I enjoy that. But it was not a win for me this time at ASWC. And of course, I found that to be incredibly frustrating. In fact, a couple of our next gen friends were out in the hallway, and I came out and I was a little bit teary-eyed because I felt like my kids deserved that win. Not the win, we weren't going to win, but I felt like they deserved those points. But the one thing that I can say is I hope that everybody that I spoke to felt like, I was fair and respectful. And even though I actually went back in and asked for a second opinion, I felt like it was a good, calming environment. Everybody was super kind, and that's what you want to see at ASWC. So I was grateful for that. Please make sure when you go in, I went in and I was hyped up and had to calm myself down the whole way there, because I was like, why are we not getting credit for this? Just remember, take that breath, take that moment, because it's hard. And you definitely, I would imagine, being one of the people in ASWC, it is one of the harder jobs that you can do at a competition. Yeah, it wasn't my win this time, but I did feel like they did a good job of professionalism. Whether I thought it was accurate or not, we'll leave that for the next podcast. So final thoughts as far as the All-Star World Championship this year, 2025, I thought it was really great. Of course, we will be back. I understand that when you run any sort of major event, there are going to be things that get messed up. Guys, the first year we ran Trunk or Treat, we thought it was going to be 1,000 people might show up, which you might think is a ton, but we do have that kind of pull in our community. We thought maybe 1,000 people would show up, and we had over 5,000 people. We had traffic backed up for half a mile on the highway. You couldn't get through the roundabout. Finally, emergency management for our county put out a text message about the traffic. Highway Patrol showed up and they started regulating traffic for us. We probably made, the community Facebook groups, we probably made 5 or 6 posts. Well, we didn't make them, community members made them, asking, what was happening at the gym or about the traffic or whatever. It was probably as a former PR person for the Air Force, it was probably my finest moment. If you can get a text message out through the emergency management service in your area, man, that's a beautiful thing, because that was the freest advertising we've ever had. And it was very tempting to call them back the next year and be like, just so you know, we're going to have this event again if you want to send a text. Anyway, those are my thoughts regarding All-Star Worlds. So what happens next? We get home on Sunday. We do not practice for an entire week. That is kind of just the policy in my gym. We don't close the gym. In fact, while we were gone, the week we were gone, our prep team prep teams, novice teams, our other competitive teams, our competitive tumbling, they were off for the week since so many of our coaches leave. However, the week we get back, they do have practices. Their season for novice and prep has already ended about 3 weeks ago. They maintain their enrollment. If they're coming back for next season, they maintain their enrollment through April. They do pay normal tuition in April, and we're training the athletes. So it makes sense, right? We're here to teach your child how to do cheerleading. And so what do we do in April? Like, we do cheerleading. We teach them, and we start teaching kids new stunts and maybe different positions. If you're a novice or a prep kid, we focus on jumps. Like, we do all the things. Guys, we even do motions, because I can't stand it when you have a kid who has done All-Star for 6 or 7 years and you tell them to do a high V and like their wrists are all, all over the place. They're bent. Their arms are, all of those things, because we just don't do a lot of high Vs in All-Star. And so I hate that they get to high school and we have to like fix motions. And so we spend some time the week after doing those things for our novice and prep athletes. Our elite athletes who just traveled to Florida take the entire week off. We don't have team tumbling that week. They can get a makeup class if they want to for tumbling, but we highly encourage them, like, literally just take the week off. I can tell you, because we have team chats, we have already had parents in almost every team say, oh, we don't have practice tonight. Like, they came back, and where I would have thought they might be a little burned out, they were eager. They're eager and excited already moving into next season and finishing this season. So we take that week off. The week after that, every year, it is tradition, we do parent participation week, which means the first 45 minutes of every practice. So like your regular weekly team practice. And if you are an elite team that you do 2 practices a week, you would do it just on your one non-Sunday practice. It's parent participation. You teach, the parents sign a waiver. Let me just put that out there. They sign a waiver. Then you teach them your dance, and the parents perform the dance at the end of the 45 minutes. We get a lot of dads participate, which is super cool. It's an opportunity for them to see the things that are challenging that may not look challenging. I would say that's the number one thing that people walk away from is like, how did my child learn this in such a short period of time? Because they usually know their dance by the end of choreography. And often it's like, for us, it's like less than 1/3 of choreography is spent on teaching the dance. And so the parents are like, how did my 6-year-old learn this? That's crazy. Usually we make a little parent pyramid, which is like the parents will put the kids up in, a belly lib or a shoulder sit or something and make a little pyramid and take a picture. And it just creates a neat memory. Even our senior athletes do this. So, are they as excited? No, the moms are way more excited at that age, but it's still a cool memory that we do with our kids. The week after Parent Participation Week is Bring a Friend Week. The friends do have to register online. There's no charge for it, but they can bring up to 2 friends. We do allow them to bring other friends from within the gym, of course, because some of your athletes, that's like all their friends are the kids in the gym. I did put out a caveat to it this year. I said, hey, listen, our goal is to always grow this program so that your child has the perfect team for him or her. Like, I want them to be able to have the right age division and level. If you have a tuck and you're, 10 years old, I want to have a youth 3. But like, help me get there. Help us get there by bringing your friends who are not part of our program already, or at least they're not part of the cheer program. Even though you might be a level 3 kid and your friend might be a level 1, it still builds the program from the ground up. And so we have some parents who are really great about that. Others bring their siblings. My senior team always brings their boyfriends who are never going to cheer, but it ends up being a really funny practice, I guess. And so, yeah, that is our Bring a Friend Week. Like I said, they do register online. It allows us to gather their email information and their contact information so that we can further market to them. And then they also sign a waiver online. It's super convenient, and then it helps build and grow our leads for not only for the next season, but into our tumbling classes and high school tumbling classes and stuff like that. So we don't take this big pause before tryouts. We take the 1 week after the All-Star World Championship. Then we do 2 fun practices. They are totally optional. I did have a mom today say, hey, I think she's going to need a couple extra weeks off. Just she's tired and she really is eager to go outside and play with her friends. Is it okay? And I said, absolutely. Like, the next 2 weeks after this week are optional. We will spend the first 45 minutes doing that fun thing, the parent participation or the bring a friend. And then the remainder of the practice is skills training. So we are still training them throughout that time because I do get kids who are still eager. They're like, man, I almost had my back walkover and I really want it for tryouts, right? Or something like that. You know, if you're on one of my teams where maybe you almost made it into jumps, we practice jumps all year. You might want to be practicing jumps so that you can make it into jumps this year. Or you might want, like my level 3, they pretty much know a large portion of them are moving to level 4. And so they're eager to get back in the gym right now so they can start learning those level 4 stunts. That doesn't mean that I move a whole team up together every year. It just so happens that that is the right mix of kids. And I've been pretty honest with them that the majority of them are likely to move up. Okay, so what are the coaches doing during this time? What is management doing during this time? Well, guys, this is the week off, but not for everybody. Okay, so our part-time coaches can certainly take the week off. If they coach novice or prep teams also, if they coach recreational classes, they do have to come in for those unless they were to get them covered. Most of them still come in because they still want to spend those last couple of practices with their team. If you only coach elite teams, you have the option to have the week off, or you can pick up a shift from somebody else, coaching a rec class, working our kids camp. You can pick up birthday parties over the weekend. I do have adult coaches who they're college kids, but they still have bills to pay. And so some of them will take the whole week off, and then others will, want to come in and get those hours. Rent doesn't stop just because you're back from All-Star Worlds. So
well, you got to pay the bills, right?
On the management and owners end, I really take this as a week to make sure I've got everything together for tryouts. I started working on tryouts back in January, February when we were doing our budget and our packet. I have an annual checklist that I go through, and every month I've got certain tasks that I have to do to prepare for tryouts. And so the majority of our stuff is already done for our banquet. The majority of stuff for tryouts is already done as well. We did meet yesterday for 8 hours, and we did our pre-placements. So we don't necessarily give a permanent, this is the permanent slot this athlete will be in for next season, but we do put it all on a whiteboard and we pre-place. We used to do this with all of our coaches, all sitting in a room together. We no longer do that. We really just do it with our full-time staff, those who coach cheerleading. And then sometimes we have our tumbling director over as well. It's helpful since he coaches so many private lessons and stuff just to find out, okay, last I saw this athlete was doing these passes, where is she at now? And how consistently is she doing those passes? So we did spend a lot of time doing that yesterday. Basically, everybody is kind of slotted for a team at this point. We already know who will coach the teams. We know what the divisions are. I already sent my choreographer a text message last night saying these are the teams that I think we'll have. The numbers may change by 1 or 2 kids in either direction, but that's kind of where we're at for now. I got a couple of questions from gym owners that I am going to do on our next episode in regard to tryouts. So make sure that you join me on that episode as well so that I can talk to you guys and kind of answer some of those tryout questions that we had submitted. I thought they were great, actually. Okay, guys. Well, I just gave you a recap of not only the All-Star World Championship, but what we do in the weeks leading up to the end of the season. I'm not going to go too deep into banquet. I feel like over the last 13 years, we've done really good banquets, and we do a lock-in following the banquet is the only time of the year that we will do it. I don't want to go too deep into those though, because I don't know that I myself have banquet totally dialed in how I want it. And so I can't say this is the way to do it. I can tell you all the ways that I don't want to ever do it again, but yeah. We're really lucky that we've got a facility that we can roll up mats and utilize that part of the facility for the banquet. So if you have that opportunity to do that and you can make it look nice, I think it's a huge savings. It saved us a couple $1,000s from when we used to rent out a facility. But beyond that, guys, I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Make sure you get registered for the Next Generation Gym Owners Summer Conference, June 20th through 22nd. In Dallas. It is at this amazing venue within walking distance to the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Lots of restaurants and great places to go shop. And not only that, but we are going to have 5 tracks plus the International Judges Association. We've got business tracks, leadership tracks, skills tracks. We have got the amazing Corey Rickett out there. My daughter has done tumbling with him before and thought he was fantastic. We've got Kat Haley. I was maybe her number one fan during COVID because I loved all the virtual education she gave, and I'm excited to hear that again. Kind of a fresh new take now that we're like in person. And yeah, we've just got some really amazing people coming to speak. Jason Larkins will be there on the Let's Talk Cheer podcast. He couldn't remember anybody else, so he said he might just teach all the classes. He will not be doing that. And then we've even got some locals, what I would call. Patrick, who is my tumbling director, will be teaching some of our tumbling classes. He's really fantastic. He's coached tons of camps and stuff for others, as well as at our gym for the last, I think, 11 years. And yeah, we've just got some great speakers. So I really hope you guys can join us this summer. You can get registered at ngconferences.com. All right, guys. So with that, I will catch you guys on the next episode.